Hi friends, glad to be back today. And today we're going to be talking about the lymphatic system. What the lymphatic system does and how you can actually work to keep your lymphatic system clean and working well. And joining me in studio is Dr. T. You know her as Nicole. And she was in here in the previous video talking about how she dealt with Lyme disease, going through the process of not being diagnosed properly, finally getting diagnosed, and then dealing with the pain that that disease does, okay? And so she had to do a lot of work on her own, a lot of investigation, had to learn a lot about what to do, and in that process decided to work in medicine, to become a physician, because she cared so much about helping other people. Now, last video, we began to talk about lymphatic and the lymphatic system and how important it is to really be aware of what's happening there and what you can do to basically clean it out. And you begin talking about the light beam generator, and we're going to talk about that in a little while. But first off, what does the lymphatic system do?
So your lymphatic system is a major component of your immune system. Number one, most people don't know that. So within that system, you're having your T cells and NT cells, which are natural killer cells. These are very important white blood cells. They have specific functions, and a lot of people don't know where they originate from.
Okay.
So if that system is backed up or congested in any way, you are delaying the response of the immune system. So it's super, super important to have that system moving, just moving all the time. And so part of what I'd like to do is educate people on how do you get that to move and what that system really does for you, because it affects everybody at some point in their life.
Right, and I've had to deal with it my whole life too, because I've had to deal with the lymphatic system with the condition that I was born with, and it was something I didn't really understand, you know, and I think a lot of us don't understand. And I thought it was very interesting when we were talking off camera earlier, you were saying that it's kind of like it's like everything travels through it. It's like the transportation headquarters, right? You got like the taxi drivers and the bus drivers and the Uber drivers, and everybody's kind of cruising around this lymphatic system, and everything's going everywhere. And so we have to really think about that.
Yes, it is basically like New York City at 5 o'clock.
Beep, 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 get out of my way!
And that is exactly what's happening.
I love it.
We need immune support. We are bombarded daily, every moment of the day. You don't understand how your immune system is protecting you. Your lymphatic system is a major component of the immune system.
Wow.
And so it's kind of on, when I say it's kind of on the outskirts, it is taught in science, but you probably only hear about it when someone has cancer.
Exactly.
Right? So it's really important that people know and understand how the system works, what it does for your health, how it moves, and just really how important it is.
Okay, I agree with you. So everybody that's watching there, let's go into the fact of essentially what are the biggest things that the lymphatic system does.
So immune support,
okay,
white blood cells, so fighting off infection of any kind. It's also a transport system,
okay,
moving hormones from point A to point B, also moving waste. So dead cells, things that are used up that need to come out of the system, are transported through the lymphatic vessels specifically.
You don't really think about that. I didn't really think about that.
No, and it's not. I don't think it's taught like that. Although that is what it is. Like
right.
From a traditional medical standpoint, that's what it does.
Wow.
And so that system does not move on its own. Think about, have you ever seen a Thanksgiving turkey when you're going to buy your Thanksgiving turkey, and a lot of them are fresh and frozen, but they have that mesh bag, that net bag that you pick them up out of the case?
Right.
Your lymphatic system basically encases your whole body like that. It is a network of vessels like that that encases everything.
Wow.
People don't realize how much of it there is. For instance, in your neck, you have over 172 nodes just in your neck.
Wow.
So that's why when we talk about cancers, things spread fast.
Wow.
You have something that's in your lymphatic system that's not healthy, it'll spread fast.
Throat cancer, whatever. There you go.
But
bam.
on the other side of that coin is because of its enclosed circumstances for healing, it's where all of that support comes from too. Those really, really strong, special immune cells, they're there. So they live and reside there. So you want to keep that place clean and moving.
Keep your side of the street clean, all the sides of the street.
That's right. Keep it clean.
So essentially, if you really were proactive and really taking care of your lymphatic system, you could be really healthy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we're not taught to take care of it.
Right.
We're not taught to maintain that system. People just don't know how.
Well, it's kind of like the way the medical industry is, though, unfortunately. It's, we have insurance to cover pulling a tooth, but we've done some proactive stuff prior. It's the same thing, I think, to some degree.
Yeah, well, the question that we always ask in practice is, tell me what healthy thing your health insurance pays for. It'll pay for all your sickness.
Right.
But isn't it health insurance? Shouldn't it provide some wellness?
You're right.
Shouldn't it help keep you not sick? Should keep you healthy, help to keep you healthy, right?
That's a good point. That's a great point.
So that's something that comes up a lot.
So we've heard about lymphatic massage, and I think that's some great stuff, but I would really like to focus on this light beam generator.
Okay.
And I got to try it. Okay, so just FYI, I got to try it one time. The experience that I had from it was pretty profound. And the way that I felt after it was very energetic. And it was like, I almost felt like I was like, my body was pulsating, like moving. I felt like I was, when I got done and I stood up, I felt like I was on like one of those moving sidewalks.
Yes, that's a really good description.
Really?
Because it's in a sense a surreal feeling.
Yeah.
It's really hard to describe. Obviously, we're trying to put words to it.
Right.
What happens when you're treated and when you start moving the lymphatic system, it does actually raise serotonin levels. So think about that. Serotonin's your feel-good neurotransmitter in your brain. After working out, your serotonin levels are elevated and you feel good. You feel energized. And so part of what you felt is a result of that being activated and serotonin moving and the whole system physically moving.
It felt like a great workout, but I mean, it felt like times 100.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was really incredible. I was like, whoa. You were like, okay, drink a lot of water.
Yes, because it's going to flush everything out. We wanted it to move so that your body could eliminate and dump toxins, any waste that needs to come out.
So with this particular machine, what do you consider those? Are those paddles, or what are those things that come out of this big metal box? What is that? What do you consider that?
Well, the machine, the technology itself is really cool. It's based on a couple of, when I say old technologies, people that Tesla's work. If you're out there in the alternative complementary functional medicine community.
Nikola Tesla.
Or you might own a Tesla vehicle.
Oh yeah, those are great.
In Arizona, they're all over. And then Royal Rife. And not as many people know about Rife's work, but Rife's work had to do with frequency. And his whole entire life he dedicated to finding the frequency of every living organism. So that boils down to every cell in your body and outside your body. And he put a number with every cell. So everything has an electronic charge, a frequency, if you will. And that was his work. And he had thousands and thousands. And so what he developed was frequencies that were emitted based on vibration of whether bacteria, fungus, viral component. All of those things vibrate. Every cell in our body vibrates.
Wow.
They're all cellular beings, those things I just mentioned. And so his work was to discover what their number/frequency was. And his whole premise and how he treated and healed people was, if you introduce these frequencies to the body is so innately intelligent, it will take what it needs. And remember, we're talking about a frequency, so when we talk about electronics, it's always positive and negative. We've all put batteries into something, right?
Right.
Positive, negative. So what you're doing is connecting a positive and a negative, creating a hole. And when you create a hole, we move. What it does is it creates a new item.
Right.
And we get to move it through our body. So basically, think about if you're missing a frequency and you have a virus, we introduce that frequency. It changes the structure molecularly.
Wow.
it vibrates at a different frequency now.
Mm-hmm.
It changes its structure to something else. And that is imperative for healing. And so those two technologies combined. Tesla has to do with the light function, so basically light photons.
Mm-hmm.
We have light and frequency. Now the frequency can only penetrate very shallow through the skin, but your lymphatics are very deep as well. You have some shallow ones, but you have some very deep ones. And so adding the Tesla technology, that light frequency piggybacks on the light penetrates deep into the body, into the deep vessels. And so basically you're just infusing the frequencies deeper into the body, and the body is actually doing the work. Your own immune system is given the opportunity to make a correction, to balance itself.
So before we really look at the actual device itself, I do have a question. What is the significance of the violet light?
So the color is specific because if you know, and some of you might know a lot about color therapy, but again, light also is a frequency. Everything has a number to it.
Right.
Okay? And light, because of the molecule size and the color of the light, is specific as to how it penetrates through denser objects. The body, the vessels. It could be the air, the actual light that we see and use, right? So color, everyone's seen a rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Have you ever done that thing where you put light through a prism and you create a rainbow? Right? That, all of that color, there are numbers and frequencies to everything. So the different color lights have specific effects. For instance, a red light would be more healing for inflammation, wouldn't penetrate as deeply as a violet light, and it just has to do with the spectrum. It's not something I made up. It is how nature, it is actual in its natural form. It's nature.
Right.
Right. So and it's a cold laser. So we're talking about a laser technology. So when we talk about the light, again, because a lot of you might be familiar with skin, they use a blue light to kill bacteria in the skin when you have acne. You would show up to the dermatologist or an esthetician, and the device that they use is frequency with blue light. So it's very topical, but the first couple layers of the dermis, and it actually kills the bacteria.
Oh, wow.
And all it is frequency.
You know, one of my questions I have, though, is, you know, with the lymphatic system, how does it really flow? How does it move? In what direction? That kind of question. I'm sure you have the answer for that.
I do, and that is a very good question. One that people really need the answer to have a deeper comprehension so that they really get how this thing helps you. So when we talk about the lymphatic system, everything in the lymphatic system is ultimately flowing toward the direction of the heart, which means that the legs are trying to flow upward against gravity. The arms are flowing inward toward the heart. Head, neck, flowing toward the heart, so coming down. So we have all these directions, but ultimately they're all trying to get to these two big veins that drain into either the kidneys or the intestines. And they drain into both places, but the body decides where the fluid goes. We have no control over that.
Wow.
That's a whole internal process. So if you think about that, gravity is not our friend, and most women will tell you that. But you need to move to get the flow, right? The heart moves the circulatory system. There's a pressure. It's a closed system. The lymphatic system, however, does not have the heart or a pump. So the only way it moves is by you physically moving your muscles. Now, it doesn't have to be intense. It can be gentle movement, but understand that it needs prompting. So the whole goal in the therapy is to move that lymphatic fluid to these endpoints underneath the clavicle bones here, and let the body decide how to excrete the toxic waste, whatever you want to call it. It's generally, it's a fluid form. So we don't have control if we use the kidneys, if it comes out urination or bowel movement, but it's one of those two, and that's how it happens.
Okay.
So it's complicated internally, but from that standpoint, it's just know that there's thousands and thousands of vessels. You have hundreds and hundreds of nodes. Lots in your face and neck, because we have to protect the brain. right? And that is why, specifically why, so many in the top part of your body. So that's important to understand because we don't want anything crossing into the brain. That's like your natural protection mechanism.
What about around your heart?
So around your heart, the vessels are still there, and it is a muscle. So when it beats, it's going to create movement. But that's also going to have to flow slightly upward because that subclavian vein is right behind the heart.
Wow.
It's right there. And one of the other interesting things about the system is it's not equal. Your right and left sides of your lymphatic system are not equal. So the right side actually is very small. And if we draw an imaginary line down the middle of my face, right down my chest, and cross over under this breast, this little piece drains into this side of the body. The other 3/4 of the body is all vying to drain into this side. And so it's a little imbalanced. Why? It's just the way we were created. But you have to know that for drainage purposes. And it's really interesting, but that's what happens. And we just want to keep everything moving so it drains.
Interesting.
So as we go through and use the machine, we're going to place the paddles actually on top of where those veins reside. That's the end point of our lymphatic system. It's not the beginning. Even though it's up near your head,
it's the end.
It's the end.
Because everything's traveling up.
Correct. Because it's trying to get toward the heart.
Right.
Right? So legs, going to be harder to drain, take longer, plus they're all drained on the left side. So we start here. If you showed up and said, hey, Nicole, I have a swollen ankle. I need to get the fluid out from under there. It hurts. Whatever the complaint is, I'm still going to start in the same place because I need to draw that fluid using that technology. It creates a magnet of sorts.
Wow.
So think of the system being full, and as it drains into those veins, it's emptying. It's draining, like fluid going down the sink drain. Okay, water's flowing down. That's what's happening. By moving that fluid at the end point, all of the fluid that's below it gets to move up, right? Gets a higher place, gets closer to the end point, which is what we want. So there's very specific protocols when we use the machine. There are certain ways to place the technology on the body in specific drainage patterns. So if I am going to work on a whole body protocol, I am going to start in the same place every time. It's always going to start here. I have to create space, and I have to take some pressure off the system so it can move.
Right.
So it's all jammed up usually when I'm meeting it, and then we're loosening it up and giving it a little elbow space.
That's cool.
It starts to move. So progressively we move down the body to relieve all that pressure, and then we travel back up with the paddles of the machine in very specific formation to focus on whatever areas that we really want to drain. So for instance, if you had a breast cancer, I would still go all the way down the body, relieve all the pressure because there's internal pressure in the system, but then make my way back toward the breast and include treating the axilla, the front and back of the body, because all those vessels are actually connected to the breast.
Wow.
That's something that you don't realize. And so when we talk about that, like wearing super constricting clothing, things that are really tight, you actually compress the lymphatics. You squeeze them, and then you don't get movement. And so you don't want to wear anything that's super tight or pinching or binding. It actually impairs your system. And so one of the best things that you can do for your breast health is to not wear a tight bra.
Makes sense.
Right? Don't stop the flow of any action there. Why would you want to inhibit that movement?
You don't.
Exactly.
I mean, I've worn some tight pants before.
We all have.
Oh, man. I had some yoga pants on the other day, and I just thought they were like literally taking my will to live. I got rid of those pants. I'm giving them to charity. Yeah, but I love this because it's very interesting stuff, and I think that one thing I want to talk about is the sound of the machine. So as we're doing the machine right now, you can hear different sounds, you know, and then the sound seems to go away, right? What's that about? So like when Nicole's putting the paddles on, I can hear it, but what's that about? And then it goes away. Or at least to me it does.
Right. Well, the machine's still on. So what happens is the machine itself sweeps through certain patterns of flow. So we can either use a pulsing, because the laser will work on a pulse. If you've ever had a laser done, it's like snap, snap. It's a pulse mechanism for the skin. So we can work in that way, or we can work in what's called the harmonic way, where it's a sweep, where all the frequencies gently and slightly overlap in a very smooth, rhythmic movement. And if you think about lymphatic massage, it's gentle touch in a very circular, flowing movement. That's how the system flows, and that's what the sound, the frequencies, Rife's frequencies, that's what they do.
Wow.
So we get a little bit of overlap, and then what you're hearing, when you really hear that sound, because of course when it's up here on your chest, it's louder, it's near your head, but when the system's more congested, the sound is bouncing off of the congestion. You're going to audibly, you'll hear it more the more congested you are. As we open up the system, all of a sudden, people will say, did you shut it off? You can't hear it. The reason why you can't hear it is because it's penetrating deeper to the deeper vessels, and the body is just taking it in deeper and deeper.
Wow.
So you hear the congestion actually move, and a lot of people will feel it move. And that feels kind of like a pulling for people. And not everybody feels it, but you will feel movement through the intestines, because your intestines are just loaded with lymphatic tissue. It's all lymphoid tissue. It's how we absorb our nutrients.
Wow.
So when you don't hear the sound, that's a good thing, because that means it's opened up the congestion, it's penetrating at a deep level in the body, and it's moving those deep, deep lymphatic vessels. So we're clearing all that out.
How often would you suggest somebody to use something like this?
You could use this machine every day if you wanted to. Generally, what I find is people are so toxic and their systems are so congested that you're going to get a detox reaction. And basically, if you're really toxic and you're really fighting something, you're going to feel really fatigued and malaise as things move through. And so that would be why I would say don't do it every day, so that you have a little rest from feeling bad. Now, not like you're going to be vomiting or in the bathroom, with loose bowel, but you'll feel really tired, like your body all of a sudden weighs 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
And that subsides. But that's why that's why generally I tell people 3 times a week if it's extreme, and would do that until the system opens to a certain level, and then would start to stretch it out. And the whole purpose of utilizing that technology is so we can retrain the system to flow in the direction and pattern that it should, because it gets bogged down.
And we can actually basically retrain it to do what it needs to do.
Yes. So we're not doing anything that it shouldn't be doing. I'm not forcing it. I'm just gently reminding it, hello, this is what you should be doing. Come this way, please.
Very cool.
And it's gentle. And that's one of the reasons why I really like it, because the therapy itself is gentle.
And this can help so many people with so many different ailments, and not even having ailments, just feeling sluggish and beaten down and just tired. This can really help people to really get back to that feeling of, I guess, a good feeling, an overall well feeling. Well,
what someone would say to me after a treatment, and a lot of people show up, they don't know anything about it, they don't know that they need it. They feel lighter.
Nice.
They feel lighter. Now, it has nothing to do with weight. It's actually a sensation. You're taking a gelatinous substance, the lymph fluid. It's all congested, so it's kind of spongy, and it is kind of like Jell-O.
Wow.
And what we're doing is we're separating the protein bonds with the frequencies. The light's carrying the frequency into the vessel, and so it's dispersing it. It's breaking those bonds, making that fluid more and more water-like. That's what makes it travel through those vessels a lot easier.
It's like anything. It's like driving down the road. I mean, if there's a lot of congestion, you're going to get stuck.
Right.
There's going to things happen. There might be accidents. There might be problems. But when things are actually flowing and going well, it seems like there's obviously movement. The nutrition and whatever needs to be going to different places goes there, and the body acts normal.
Absolutely. So it can be a big function of wellness to have a lymphatic drainage session a few times a year even if you did it quarterly, or just depending. Like, I'll see people when it's allergy season, because of course that's systemic inflammation. That it will help to reduce that in a big way. Say you sprain your ankle, it swells, it will help resolve the inflammation.
Wow.
So in turn, it helps with pain in that way when something is inflamed and all the fluid is trapped there. And that stuff can be painful. It's debilitating.
Right.
And then from an immune side, remember we talked about what the lymphatic system does? So when we're working within that system, we are boosting immune function. The body will boost that immune function to its own natural level. So
you're giving it a little boost, helping it out.
Can't overtreat. There's no such thing. No such thing.
You're just kind of retraining the body to do what it naturally does. It might have forgotten or might have slowed down with our processes too. Maybe not moving around as much. We have maybe disease, maybe whatever that's gotten in the way of that. And maybe we and a lot of us didn't even realize this, know.
Right.
And if you don't realize the way something is supposed to work, how could you assimilate that anyway?
Right. How are you going to take care of it or even check on it to see if it's functioning right?
Exactly. So it's really neat. So as you've seen us demonstrating the machine, I think it's very helpful you can kind of see how it goes. And I think it's really, it was really impactful for me the first time I did it, doing it this time as well. And I'm going to continue practice with it because I feel like it does retrain my body. I do feel lighter, but I know that I'm obviously cleaning out the toxins that I need to clean out. And I'm actually being proactive.
Right.
And I think that our bodies, on a more spiritual level, right, our bodies know when we actually care, okay? And so, like anything in life, when you go out of your way or do something for somebody else, they actually know you care about them. It's the same thing. And so a lot of times we go out of our way to help all the other people in our life, but what do we do about ourselves? We do nothing. We don't take care of ourselves. We don't step up to the plate for our own health. And what is that saying to our body? It's saying we don't care. Okay, and it's just the same thing. If your body was your friend and your friend doesn't think that they're being cared about, it's not a really good relationship. And so really just being cognizant of that. And so, whether you're near where Dr. T practices in Scottsdale and in Arizona and various other places around the country too, you have several different facilities, and that'll be in the comment section. Or if you're somewhere else, to find the doctor that can do this and to be able to talk to them and express your interest, whether you have disease or not, doesn't really matter. It's just about, hey, I care enough about my body. I want to be proactive. I saw this on YouTube. I saw this on Ashley Berges' channel, and I think that this is something I might be able to do. And it can't hurt you. It's not something that can hurt you.
Correct. So that's just bonus.
Right. It's got no crazy side effects,
That's
okay?
Right. There's no disclaimer at the end of this.
Right. We're all good. So I hope that this has helped y'all. And in the meantime, Dr. T will be back in studio, and we'll be talking about more interesting stuff. But this stuff is really cool because it gets you to think about it. You can research it. You can go on Google and look it up and see all kinds of different things because, to be quite honest with you, until I met her, I didn't even know this technology existed. And so I just want to share it with you so you have the knowledge and you have the understanding of what you need to know and ways that can benefit you, because I think knowledge is power. And when we have that power, we can take that power in our own hands and we can wield it for good to help ourselves and to help the people we know.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I love it.
I'll look forward to the next time.
Always a wealth of knowledge here. In the meantime, please share this video with your friends and family, even your coworkers out there. Somebody you know might need just to hear this. They might need to learn about this, and this could actually help them. It could, even possibly save their life. And don't forget to leave comments in the comment section below. I try to be really proactive about answering any questions, and if I don't know the answer, Dr. T will actually respond. And this is very interesting stuff because we want to get answers out, we want to get the knowledge out, and it's very powerful, and it helps us all to be healthier and happier. In the meantime, don't forget to live your true life. Are you currently in a toxic relationship and unsure what the next day will bring? Have you often wondered if there's more to life than this? Do you suffer from self-esteem issues that you've had since you were a young child? Have issues or have difficulty speaking with your family? Do you feel surrounded by self-centered people? Seems as though you're always giving and they're always taking. If you've answered yes to any of these questions, you need some answers. The 10-day challenge to live your true life gives you the knowledge and techniques for creating boundaries in your life that help us to deal with family, as well as dealing with those narcissistic and toxic people in your life. It offers the insight into understanding and overcoming your self-esteem issues, and to begin to see for the first time your amazing value. You owe it to yourself to find the power within you.